So welcome back, everybody. We're just throwing cookies around here today. Sorry, buddy, I wasn't paying attention where I was throwing. Here, Cleo. Ready? There you go. Take another one. So today we're going to talk about socializing the boy again. So we've had a couple of little situations happen that I want to discuss about Sully and his people skills. But first I have to do a couple of thank yous. I'd like to thank Boots and Greg and his family for sending a donation, and also to Chris and Kalina for their donation to the channel. I know Fergus usually does the thank yous, but he has recently lost somebody dear to him and his family. So yeah, he's just in his grieving process right now. So he will come back on and do thank yous eventually, but he just needs some time right now. But your donations did go to some yummy treats for the babies, and they were very excited to see me bring them home. But we really appreciate your donation, and I thank you for adding to the spoiling of our kids, because it really does all go back to them. So when it comes to Sully's people skills, he does really well when we go to like our local drive-through. He has certain people there that he absolutely adores getting cookies from. He does pretty well at not reacting to people that walk near us or around us, but you can't enter his bubble, which is fine. I don't like people entering my bubble either. Out in public and at stores, if you present him with, you know, cookies and stuff like that, he will accept you as a cookie person, but that does not mean that you will be his friend. That does not mean that he will let you pet him. He is very protective of the mother. We've talked about this. He's also very protective of his space and his bubble. He enjoys going out into the world, but he takes a long time to warm up to certain people. He has to accept you as one of his own, which again, we've mentioned before that cattle dogs are leery of strangers and other dogs, or they can be, unless you're gypsy, where you accept all without cookies. But recently we stopped by a person's house that we know on our walks. Sully has only met her 2 times before. This last time when we met them, he went absolutely ballistic, screaming at everybody. Of course, there was like 6 or 7 people outside with her this time. He listened almost right away, which is good because it stopped his reactiveness. And you know, dog reactivity when it comes to people or cars or other dogs or anything, it's most commonly because it's fear, it's anxiety, it's lack of practice and things like that. There's other reasons too that can cause it, but with him I think it's more of lack of practice and protectiveness. I think that plays a part in his reactivity. But he calmed down, and I actually sat down on the ground with him, and he eventually plopped himself in between my legs, and he sat there in a very protective stance, just watching. He was calm and quiet, but you could tell he was in protective mode. He didn't want nobody coming near the mother, which is fine. These people at least are dog people. They understand, you know, training's happening. They understand not to approach and wave arms around for like big hugs, because that's just going to freak the dog out. So she brought them all out water bowls. This time she brought out the fancy dishes, like not the plastic tubs. So they all got to drink water from their own special bowls, and we were there probably about 15-20 minutes, and he finally went up and started sniffing her. And I made sure I had his leash, like control of his leash, and he finally gave her a boop with his nose in her hand, and that was it. She didn't get to pet him. The girls were just getting attention from everybody, but at least it was a good interaction. It was positive. He eventually calmed more down after he got the water and everything from her, knowing it was a safe space. And I've always said I don't expect my cattle dogs to be super social with people, and I don't. But I always get concerned with the lack of practice he has with people in situations, because, you know, nowadays people aren't very social like they were. And that leads me to my actual problem and why we need to practice some socialization again with him. So my sister came over the other day for a visit, and I haven't had people over here in a couple of months. Just people, you know, I know a lot of people who are still afraid to go out of their houses. I know a lot of people that are just really busy, and it just was a weird time trying to socialize Sully with our home. I've talked before about this, about trying to get more experience with him when he was younger. So I kept him on a leash when she first came in, because I had a feeling that he was going to react badly, because the older he gets, the more protective he is of not only me, but his entire house. Like, he this is his. Like, obviously it's his, but like, he will let you know that it's his, and he will fight you to the death for it. He went ballistic, jumping in the air, trying to charge at her, even though I kept my distance from her. I literally was struggling with him to get him to sit. He was not listening to any command that I was giving him. It was, you know, there's levels of reactivity, you know, where you start off with mild reactivity, which isn't too bad if you're like the mild and medium reactivity, because if you can get him back out of it, that's showing progress. He went from no reactivity to total red zone of, I want to murder this woman within a second, and nothing I said was getting his attention. I was literally wrestling him on the floor to try to get him into a sit position, or even just holding him into a position where I knew he wasn't going to attack her or even hurt himself, like by slamming into the coffee table or anything like that. I was trying to get him to just calm it down, and nothing. He was screaming so loud, like I couldn't get him to calm down. So I need to work with him on that. What felt like an eternity of wrestling with him on the ground was probably actually only about a minute of him having a complete breakdown. And I do what I normally do when training a dog with him. I kept him on the leash, and she was on one end of the couch with Gypsy and Clea, because they know her and love her. And me and Sully were on the other side. And Gypsy and Clea actually, when Sully would try to nip my sister or jump up at her, actually attacked Sully. They were very protective of their aunt. But they've had a lot more exposure to my sister, and they've gone on hikes with me and my sister and things like that. So he's only met her twice before, so this is the third time he's met my sister. As we were sitting there, I was doing some trick training with him and just correcting him when he would, you know, just a tug on the leash, like when he would like try to charge at her, and I would tell him, no, you leave it. You know, you don't do that to her, type thing. And then eventually I went and got some chew bones, and everybody had some chew bones, and everybody was getting calmer, and I eventually let go of the leash, and he did fine. He started approaching her calmly, you know, like checking her out and things like that. And eventually he started licking her arm and trying to snuggle with her and things like that. But I knew as soon as she would stand up, I would have a problem again. So the whole time she was here for the visit, she was sitting. So before she stood up, I had put the leash back on him and tried to get him to sit to stay calm, and it wasn't. As soon as she stood up, it was back to total red reactivity. And I wish I would have recorded it, because it really showed exactly what a nutter he really can be. But I didn't record it for a couple reasons. One, I wanted to protect my sister's, not protect my sister, respect my sister's privacy. I'm not one of those people that like to just randomly record other people without their permission, or when they weren't prepared for being on camera. Not everybody wants to be on YouTube. Heck, sometimes I'm weirded about being on YouTube. And also remembering just to set up a camera at all times. I'm still having a real hard time becoming obsessed with my phone or camera and remembering to click it on. I've never been obsessed with recording like most of the world. It's just half the time my phone's not even on me. It's in the other room or lost in a car. You know, like. And then on the walks, having 3 dogs to try to make sure they're all listening with a camera, I haven't mastered it yet, guys. But he definitely needs more practice with visitors at home. So if I can eventually get people to come back over, I'm really starting to realize I don't have many people left in my life that want to come over. But if I can get someone to come back over to help me with his training, I will try to record it that time and make sure they're okay with being on camera. But I think it's important to always keep up with socializing with a cattle dog, even though when they're babies, that's like the most crucial time to give them, like, you know, like around 6 months, like between like 4 to 6 months or whatever. I think that's a really critical time to give them positive experiences on meeting people and other dogs, etc. I still think you should always keep socializing your cattle dog, even if they aren't the type of dog to always want cuddles from strangers. I think it's important to practice keeping them calm in those situations, like making sure that reactivity is still under control. I'm still shocked he doesn't chase cars anymore. I still don't even know how the heck I did that. But we are definitely not having Thanksgiving here this year. We are definitely not having any big social gatherings until I can get this under control. You know, and the only other way I know how to like get a dog used to strangers coming to the house is to keep them in their kennel, you know, watching the situation and things like that. But I think I'm gonna stick with keeping him on leash, because I can see he can be comfortable with people in the home once he's accepted them and once he knows it's okay. I think another problem too is when the visitors feel fearful, the dog picks up on that. And I know my sister was nervous, like, because you've heard Sully bark. He barks loud, like he barks like he will go after you type thing. Picking up on her energy too, and just her body language, I'm sure didn't help. But I do remember when, like, you know, my mother-in-law came over, and she does have dog training and experience as well. Like she's done dog grooming too and things like that. Her body stance and what she would tolerate and how she would let him know that I'm not tolerating this behavior, that played a huge part in calming him down right away. Like, oh, I can't mess with that one. You know, like I said, I think it's mostly fear from lack of experience. Like, not that he's never had any of these experiences before, but I wasn't able to give him as much as I've done with the rest of my cattle dogs. And he is very protective. I think people forget personality plays a part sometimes in some of this reactivity. I know quite a few trainers that would probably disagree with me on that, but he wants to protect his family. This breed is naturally protective. And that is one of the reasons I have them, is because they're so protective. I love that protectiveness. But at the same time, I want them to know when to turn it off, so to speak. Like, they need to know when to be calm and when the situation calls for it and things like that. But if any of you have any other tips, even for me, on how to get him better with guests at the house, because all I've ever known to do is, like I mentioned, the kennel, like having them watch the situation, you know, sitting on the porch with my guests or in the backyard with my guests with the dog on leash and have them do trick training with the dog, things like that. Like, but my biggest problem is getting the people here to do that training with. Like, I just don't know, man. Strange days anymore with, just people are interesting these days when it comes to visiting other people's houses. I'm hoping with age and more practice, he will perfect it. Yeah, he definitely fits the bill. If I don't know you or accept you, you are not going to be in my house, in my bubble, and all the above. And I will be taking him to a few places to try to challenge his dog reactivity to see how well he actually does listen. But dogs will be, you know, other videos. This was just basically a vlog about his people skills, or lack thereof. But that is it for today's video. As always, thank you so much for watching. Remember to click like, subscribe, and if you'd like to donate to the channel, you can find the link down below to our Ko-fi page in the description, and we will see you next time. Bye. Yeah, I'm still the goodest boy. Are you the goodest boy? You just like protecting your mama, don't you? I don't have anything. What are you eating? Did you find an old cookie down there? Say probably. Hi, Clea. Mr. Protective. I don't have anything, sir. It's like, I don't believe you. I don't have nothing, kid. Oh, disappointment.